you get the news? Apparently on Wednesday, February 16th, Russia is going to roll its tanks over the border into Ukraine and launch World War III, and it'll all be Russia's fault and the world will end. That's what mainstream U.S. media is telling us, and it is so unbelievably stupid. Russia has made it abundantly clear since these allegations started that they have no intention of invading Ukraine. They're not going to invade Ukraine on Tuesday. They're not going to invade Ukraine on Wednesday. They're not going to invade Ukraine on Thursday. They're not going to invade Ukraine on Friday. Russia has no intention of invading Ukraine. Why should the American working class support Russia? Because support for Russia and support for China and support for the anti-imperialist countries and opposition to Wall Street walk hand in hand. It walks hand in hand. There is a common destiny for the working class of the United States and the people of the world. It is the same struggle against the imperialists. And we have to beat that drum over and over and over again. There's no separation between the struggle. It is the struggle against U.S. imperialism. And it's the same state apparatus. It's the same big corporations and monopolies and banks. And you have to connect these struggles. And, if you're helping them take down Russia, how can you then protect the people of the United States? If you're helping them go after China, how can you protect the working families of the United States? If you're going to fight them here, you got to fight them over there, right? And if you're going to fight them here, you got to fight them over there, right?
So we got the pro-NATO imperialist shill. Now let's talk about the pro-Russian imperialist shill, Caleb Maupin. Why should working people support Russia? Let's just react to this.
Why should the American working class support Russia? Because support for Russia and support for China and support for the anti-imperialist countries and opposition to Wall Street walk hand in hand. What the imperialists are doing.
Wait, what? So again, China and Russia are imperialist powers in their own right. They're just minor imperialist powers that exist in the periphery. Or not, well, they're world powers. They're just aligned against the US and NATO. And but they're still economically imperialist. So what do you mean anti-imperialist, Mark?
China literally bailed out Wall Street. And here's another thing he does. So basically he'll bring up things like Wall Street and bankers or international bankers and other such things instead of talking about the capitalist system entirely. He's only talking about one specific section of the capitalist system.
He talks about the bankers specifically, which, is a dog whistle for the Jewish question. I'm not saying Caleb Maupin is a Nazi, but that's kind of a neo-Nazi talking point or a fascist talking point.
I think implying he's fascist,
it's implying that there's a conspiracy, and that if we take out these conspirators, we can reform the system and make a system that's better for everyone. Caleb Maupin has some very pseudo-fascist ideas, and he derives a lot of his thought process from very pseudo-fascistic thinkers like LaRouche. Not saying Maupin himself. You might think he's a fascist. I don't, but I think he spends a little too much time in the company of people who are fascists. So, you should just talk about the imperialists, the bourgeoisie, rather than trying to isolate a singular demographic in all of this.
Around the world and what they are doing to America and the working class of America are the same. They are trying to grind us all into poverty. They are trying to lower the population. They are trying to set the stage for their high-tech, low-wage economy. The problem.
You don't think Russia and China are doing that, you fucking dunce?
And lower the population? Okay, so basically, this is a conspiracy theory. This is basically this is some really retrograde, old school conspiracy theory about population degrowth. This is the kind of shit you heard at the Freedom Convoy. You remember that one guy? What's his name? Pat, whatever the fuck his name is.
This is the same shit. It's a conspiracy. They're trying to depopulate, which is also part of the fascist line of reasoning, because they're afraid that the white race is being depopulated and that the black and brown races are being interbred and intermixed with all the white folk, and that they're going to breed out and make the white race go extinct so that the Jews can get back at the Goyim or something. That's basically how the conspiracy goes. That's why they have the gay agenda. That's why they have depopulation. Caleb Maupin is very much playing to a fascist audience when he does this. He's very much playing into this conspiratorial thinking, this fascistic thought process where instead of analyzing systems, you look at conspiracies and you look at certain things that are to be singled out. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not, again, I just want to reinforce, I'm not saying Caleb Maupin is a fascist, but he plays into fascist rhetoric and he spends a great deal of time in the company of people of that mindset.
Problem of overproduction and the tendency of the falling rate of profit and the general law of capitalist accumulation, the way that they plan to resolve it is by canceling millions of working people, by lowering consumption, reducing consumption, lowering the population. They are Malthusian. They are vicious. They don't have a place for us in the global assembly line any longer. And in order to keep their profits rolling in, they have decided to engage in this kind of activity. And
not true. It is not within the interests of the bourgeoisie to shrink GDP and curb consumption and, you know, in an ecologically sustainable manner while meeting human need. That is not on the agenda of the capitalist class. The Great Reset, the whole concept of the Great Reset is to establish a kind of rentier vampire economy where you do sustainability and you make a more sustainable economy so that you can curb consumption and still have like civilization. But it's a rentier system where people pay rent to use all of the things that could otherwise be distributed according to need. That's
and he's misusing the word Malthusian. So when Malthus was talking about, you know, what he was talking about, he wanted his idea wasn't to limit growth or any of this fucking bullshit. He wanted to deal with the cumbersome working class population by grinding them down through working them literally to fucking death. He wanted them to literally just kill them off through other means, through just like, you know, like the shit that, you know, people die through fucking treatable diseases and fucking obesity and everything else. And that's what they mean, not this fucking, you know, population degrowth fucking new world order shit.
World populations are shrinking in developed and developing nations because there's a number of factors for it. It's actually kind of a complicated topic.
And you can't afford having kids in this fucking
economy. In this economy, no. And like the Soviet Union had very pro-natal policies. And under the modern Russian Federation, there's like no support for women and children, no economic security for women and children.
Yeah, you used to get like a medal in the Soviet Union if you had like 10 children or something like that.
They had very pro-natal policies, and that's why their population was consistently growing.
That is why it is necessary. You can't talk about fighting Wall Street and repeat and help them colonize Eastern Europe. You can't talk about fighting Wall Street and support their hypocritical anti-China hysteria. It walks hand in hand. There is a common destiny for the working class of the United States and the people of the world. It is the same struggle against the
hold on. Right here. There
is a common destiny for the working class of the United States and the people of the world. It is the same struggle against the imperialists. And we have to beat that drum over and over and over again. There's no separation between the struggle. The struggle against Big Pharma is a struggle of the working class of the United States and a struggle of the people. There is a common destiny for the working class of the United States and the people of the world. It is the same struggle against the imperialists. And we have to beat that drum over and over and over again. There's no separation between the struggle. The struggle against Big Pharma is a struggle of the working class of the United States and a struggle of the people of the world. And the struggle, you know, against the prison industrial complex.
You see, I wouldn't have a problem with this if he wasn't treating China and Russia like they were genuine dictatorships of the proletariat. Like, if you want to make an argument that China is a dictatorship of the proletariat, I mean, fine. I mean, if they are, they're a really fucking shitty one, if you ask me. For a lot of reasons, but fine.
They are definitely not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Caleb is talking about Russia and China like they're actual, like, they're basically the USSR. Like, they're Mao's China, the Soviet Union. He's stuck in the 1950s, man. These aren't the same regimes. They're not the same countries. I agree with you, Caleb. I agree with him when he says that we need to stand in solidarity with the international proletariat. Where I disagree is standing with these governments. We should stand with the people against all the dictatorships of capital. That's where I differ, and that's where my stance lies. Like, so like all these fucking Maupinites who are, you know, saying that oh, Russia's doing a good thing. They're regurgitating Russian propaganda that, oh, we're going into Donbass to liberate ethnic minorities and stop the Nazis, to stop a genocide in Donbass. First off, you can't substantiate that. And two, not every man, woman, and child, all the 1.5 million refugees and the thousands of civilians that have died in the wake of this war, not every last one of them is a Nazi, is the second thing. And three, handling the Nazi problem in Ukraine, there are other ways of handling it besides invading and bombing and driving a bunch of people out of the country. And fourth, if Russia really gave that much of a fuck about Ukraine's Nazi problem, if they really cared about, you know, the sovereignty of Donbass, they would have moved in like 7 years ago. They wouldn't have waited all the way up until this point, like literally when Ukraine was getting ready to join NATO, to like move in and like invade. So like there's no evidence. There's no fucking evidence whatsoever. They're literally just taking the Russian government at their word. And I don't know why. Fucking Putin is a fucking anti-communist oligarch, and the Russian government as we know it now is a fucking imperialist, irredentist, Bonapartist oligarchy. It's a Bonapartism.
Is the struggle against U.S. imperialism, and it's the same state apparatus, it's the same big corporations and monopolies and banks. And you have to connect these struggles, and you know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Caleb. I stand against the monopolies, the banks, the Wall Street, the imperialists. That doesn't just include the United States imperialists. That doesn't just include Western European imperialists. That includes the imperialists of the East. Even though they're a lot more minor, and even though they're a lot less influential, they are still our class enemy. They just pose less of a threat at this time, and that's really it.
To be fair, though, they could pose a much greater threat than even the United States in the future.
Yeah, in the future, yeah. And they could become a very big threat in the future. They're just not as big of a threat now, which is why I prioritize the fuck out of being anti-US and NATO. The other reason why I'm ultra anti-American, not just because America is the world's principal empire, it's my home country. Like, you should focus nationally on doing and making socialism in your home country, first and foremost.
And it's stolen land, too. So.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're helping them take down Russia, how can you then protect the people of the United States?
We should be helping them take down Russia, while at the same time, you know, being aided in the taking down and the overthrow of our own government. Revolutionary defeatism, bitch. That's the Leninist policy, not your policy. You stand in solidarity with the Russian government, and my friend, that is incredibly cringe. That is incredibly blue-pilled. Why, Caleb, you say you're a socialist, a communist, right? Why is it that you're standing in line with Putin and his oligarchy that are going in and murdering innocent people, driving thousands of families, hundreds of thousands of families out of Ukraine, and engaging in active hot warfare? Why do you stand in solidarity with Putin's anti-communist government that really just keeps the Communist Party around on a leash as controlled opposition, more or less. But otherwise, yeah, it's an anti-socialist, anti-communist government that's aligned with fucking Israel, that's aligned with, what are some other countries they're aligned with that are really problematic?
Saudi Arabia, China.
Thank you. Yeah, and same goes with China. These countries do fuck all to help the international proletariat. This invasion does fuck all to help the international proletariat. It does nothing for the people of Russia. It does nothing for the people of Ukraine. In fact, both the people of Russia and Ukraine are suffering substantially for this. The Ukrainians, because they're being attacked by a hostile Bonapartic oligarchy, and Russia, because they're about to get strangled by sanctions, strangled into the dirt by sanctions. So who does this war help, Caleb? In the grand scheme of things, who does this really help?
Helping them go after China. How can you protect the working families of the United States? If you're going to fight them here, you got to fight them over there. Right?
That's neocon propaganda.
Yeah.
That's literally what neoconservatives were. That's the same rhetoric they were using to justify fucking going into Iraq. Listen to that again.
China, how can you protect the working families of the United States? If you're going to fight them here, you got to fight them over there. Right? And that there's one global economy. There is one imperialist, monopolist system that is threatening the people of the world. There is an emerging alternative, the Belt and Road Initiative, One Belt, One Road Initiative, the Eurasian Economic Union, the what do you call it? The Bolivarian alternative for Latin America. And we got to stand with that, right? And it's really important. Look, there's a reason that Nicaragua, Venezuela, Iran, the Houthis, there's a reason that they've all recognized the People's Republics of Donetsk and Lugansk. There's a reason for that, right? Because they understand the connection. We got to make that.
Because they're buddy with Russia. They're friends with Russia.
Okay, so he's conflating a whole bunch of fucking shit here. So basically, recognizing Donetsk and Luhansk, the Donbass republics, that's not the same thing as supporting fucking invading Ukraine. Yeah, he used the neocon talking point because Caleb is not anti-war. He supports the war on terror. He just supports it when Russia and China do it. Like, you know that Russia, China, and the U.S., they're all very, very much on this so-called anti-terrorism, because they want to destroy the fourth world. They want to get rid of all these fucking tribes, label them as terrorists, be it with the Uyghurs. I don't agree that the Uyghurs are being genocide, but there is a cultural genocide going on. Their culture is getting removed. We can agree with that, and that is wrong, but it's not a genocide.
Yeah, no, like don't get me wrong. The U.S. and the Western countries are fucking the epitome of evil and have done irreparable damage to the world and have been actively holding us back as a species for a while. But that can also be true while at the same time Russia and China being hegemonic powers of their own with their own cynical self-interest in mind that want to keep the capitalist system going in their own right because they have their own national ruling classes that are trying to protect their interests and trying to make money. And so saying I align with Russia and China, all you're doing is telling me that you just align with their imperialists against our imperialists. You're not really aligning, despite what you say about aligning with the proletariat. You are right about the conflations, conflating Russia and China with being dictatorships of the proletariat fighting for working. Fuck no, not even close. So Caleb, for your position to be true, you would have to substantiate the point that Russia and China are dictatorships of the proletariat, and there is a colossal mountain of evidence to suggest otherwise. And he will never confront me on this because there is no argument. Like, Caleb filters and selectively brings people into his circle, and only brings people into his circle who he knows will rim his asshole. Those are the only people that Caleb brings on. If you don't rim his ass, and if you show any sort of tiny sign that you're even slightly critical of him and his ideas, or that you might actually use theory to call him out on his bullshit, he's just gonna block you on Twitter. He's gonna ignore you. He's gonna remove you. And yeah, it is what it is, man. I mean, whatever.